See here, everybody here today. I am Martha Vijayashwarpu. I'm the current president of the TMAA Alliance, and I want to welcome you to our Enrichment series. We really appreciate you taking your time out with us today. Today we have the privilege of having Dr. Warren and Rebecca Mills with us, and to teach us on how to improve health through physical fitness. So I think this is vital during this COVID time. Dr. Warren received his BS in biology from Baylor University and his medical degree from Texas A&M Medical School. He completed his general surgery residence with Scott & White in Temple. And after practicing general surgery in both private and academics, he went on to complete a vascular surgery fellowship. He practiced open and endovascular surgery, but continued to work on his own personal balance, and then changed gears again in 2018. At that time, he spent over 20 years literally putting Band-Aids on illnesses and diseases that were end stage. Very little surgical or medical intervention could truly change the course of these patients' paths. They had been making choices for years that led to their problems. He wanted to try to intervene earlier in their lives. So in 2018, he entered a psychiatry residence at Baylor Scott & White in Temple to focus on mental health and overall wellness. Dr. Warren has successfully completed the Mindful-Based Stress Reduction course through the University of Massachusetts. He uses these techniques to help people learn to handle themselves and their choices without judgment. Through his own personal journey, he has found that every choice he has repercussions, and with mindful decisions, choices can have positive repercussions. We also have Rebecca Mills joining us today. She graduated with honors from Texas A&M University with a BS in biology. And from UT Southwest Medical School Center, she became a physician assistant. During her PA program, she helped pilot the novel PA profession in the Australian outback and worked with the Aboriginal tribes. She is an internal medicine hospitalist and brings over 13 years of experience in chronic disease management. Rebecca's passion for wellness began after her children were born, when she was diagnosed with an autoimmune thyroid disorder called Hashimoto's, which subsequently progressed to postpartum depression. She then began extensively researching dietary and lifestyle modifications to promote better health, and now works to incorporate a plant-based lifestyle into her regular cuisine and encourages her patients in this area as well. She's a certified diplomat of the American College of Lifestyle and Medicine and uses it as a foundation of her patient care. We welcome Dr. Warren and Rebecca today with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much for having us. I'm going to share my screen.
While he's doing that, getting the presentation together, first I wanted to thank all of you guys for joining us. I know that you haven't met us before, so it means a lot that you'll take your time to visit with us today. I do want to stress that this is meant to be a very interactive type of workshop, if you will. It's not, the goal is not for us just to give you a bunch of slides and you just regurgitate what's on the slide. So we do encourage you to kind of apply some of these things to your life currently and see if there maybe are some challenges that you are having in a certain area of habit, of wellness. I know you guys, I don't know how many of you were participating in the recent exercise challenge through the Alliance, but if that was something that you've been going through, maybe some challenges of maintaining that habit or maintaining your reasoning for doing that, I think this is a good time to have those discussions, but we will definitely open up for questions at the end. I have some schedules or questions laid out, but I do want you guys to feel like you can interrupt. That's our style. We're very we very much want to involve people. We don't want to just make you stare at us for the whole time. So I'll let Dr. Warren go ahead and do his part, and then towards the end, I'll kind of ask some of the questions, but feel free to put some things in the chat if you have questions along the way.
I appreciate that, Rebecca. Yeah, absolutely. It's now almost 3 years in this psychiatry residency. I realized that that I don't have the answers, and so basically it's through sitting and talking and listening. In the conversation is kind of how you bring things out into the fore, and then you discover So it's just almost like this continual state of discovery. I think that's where the answers come from. That's where the answers lie. So I'm going to try to define wellness and health and then how they're related, and then ways, concentrating on wellness, how they can lead to improved health. So this is the World Health Organization. This is their, I guess, just kind of very dry definition of what health is. It's the complete state of physical, mental, social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And then when you look at wellness, this is actually from the dictionary, quality or state of being in good health, especially an actively sought goal. I'm not sure what all of that means, so Rebecca and I were sitting and talking, and so I think, at least the way I kind of perceive health, it's what you can see, and maybe more importantly, what you can't see. So it's the objective things, so it's what we typically think of as far as health or disease or lack thereof, the things that we can measure, we can x-ray. And then wellness is more the abstract. And one way that I kind of think about wellness and or its relationship to health, it's like health, for instance, I guess maybe is a destination, and wellness is the vehicle, so to speak, that you use to get to that destination. And obviously there's a multitude of decisions and input that go along your journey, and that is all your wellness, culminating in your destination and or your health. So this was kind of a list. So on the left, kind of the things that we kind of typically think about, as far as health, things that are measured. I mean, I think everybody, so cardiovascular disease is probably the number one killer, especially in America. Stroke, diabetes, the hypertension, the obesity, the substance use, the cancer. And I was thinking this morning, we talk about preventative care, and so like colon screening, but really that's just early detection. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I think early detection plays a significant role in ultimate disease outcomes. For instance, in my former life, the aneurysm screening, because it's a lot easier, and your chances of survival are a lot greater, if that aneurysm is diagnosed and treated electively versus you coming into the emergency room rupturing in a state of extremis. So I think screening is an excellent thing to do, but in a way, it's not preventing. And so, so wellness, of course, I don't want to sell you a bill of goods, and that if you do these things, you're going to live forever, because we all know that's not true. But the choices that we make, I mean, are just so critical. For instance, and this will be a little redundant, but I guess I'm already kind of down the rabbit hole. But but like with aneurysms and smoking, by and large, if you don't smoke, you're not going to develop an aneurysm. So there's a strong correlation between smoking and aneurysm formation. So, but wellness. So the health is kind of the objective things that we can measure, that we look at, that we typically think about, talk about, screen for. The wellness, these are the things that you're actively engaged in, like your your exercise challenge that you're doing. It's just so critical to because you are what you eat, just like your mom told you. So garbage in, garbage out. Getting regular sleep is critical. Regular exercise. I personally think that a regular mental and spiritual practice and discipline is critical to developing awareness and focus. And then kind of putting all that together. What is your meaning, your purpose of life. And like Nietzsche said, and I'm paraphrasing, but if you can figure out the why, then you can deal with almost any how. So it's critical that we understand and call upon the meaning and purpose of our life, because that's ultimately how we pick our goals. And so it's just like on your exercise challenge. Yeah, if you took up the challenge, you took it up for a reason. It meant something to you, versus just being told to do something. We've all, in the practice of medicine and even just in life in general, we all by and large know what we should and shouldn't do. Being told to do something or not to do something very rarely works. It has to kind of come from within, a real deep-seated meaning. So that's what I'm trying to do. So hopefully, roughly kind of defined health and wellness, and maybe how they're kind of interrelated. And now this is a little more, I guess, maybe a little more concrete. So if the corn or the fruit or whatever, however you want to envision it, is kind of the destiny, or the destination. That it's what you want, it's what you desire, it's what you value. But you just can't just get an ear of corn. It's a process. Specific, you have to have a piece of land, then you have to work it, culture it, then you plant, and then you protect, and then it grows. And that, I think that kind of that same seed or process or thinking, is a little how health and wellness relate. There's something you're wanting or something you're wanting to avoid. So what are the things that you can do that will help you achieve whatever it is you're seeking? And this is, as promised, the smoking, and I hope none of you smoke. I remember I had a patient. I guess I'd already cleaned out one carotid, and then he comes back and his other carotid's clogged up, and I think he was actually having symptoms, and he's still smoking. And I guess I had never really thought about it. Because I've asked, I've begged, talked with people, whatever, quit smoking. And I actually asked the guy, I said, why are you smoking? And he's like, well, and it's a habit. So he'd been doing it for so long, he'd actually forgotten why he was smoking. And actually, I thought that was actually kind of a critical question for him to kind of play with. It's like, well, why am I doing this? Because obviously his risk to his own health, the risk of another operation, all that obviously really wasn't moving the needle, so to speak. So it's like, so why am I smoking? I mean, what is it? What is it that it's doing for me? For most people, I think it's it's an anxiolytic. It helps kind of calm their nerves, their stress, or whatever. So, and then figure out what it is. What's stressing you. So this, I'm not sure how many are familiar with, and I apologize if I use terms that are people aren't familiar with. So this is the big blood vessel that runs down through the abdomen, goes down to the legs. The aorta actually comes out of the heart, and it gives blood to everything. And I mean, blood carries oxygen, and every living cell in our body has to have oxygen, and it gets there on a red blood cell. And so having patent open blood vessels is critical. Unfortunately, as you smoke, so where this divides is right about your belly button. So right above your belly button is the aorta, and with smoking, that area kind of gets bigger. It grows. It's like a weak spot on an inner tube, and then it gets so big it ruptures, and usually when it ruptures, that's not a good thing. um, these are these are graphs. These are actually all endographs. So this is either Gore-Tex, or Dacron, or a polyester that or PTFE, which we basically use to kind of reline so the blood flows through the graft, and it protects the aneurysm from rupturing. And we deploy, typically go up in through the blood vessel. So in a way, so it's a way to kind of correct, I guess, years of choices. And so this is, what was alluded to, talking about the Band-Aids. So definitely in vascular surgery, just applying some procedure or something to try to help prevent rupture or blockage and try to help maintain blood flow. I'm not sure. I'm sure everybody watches TV, and my wife, she probably gets tired of me on a lot of reasons. But anyway, these commercials come on, and it's, you can get your prescription, get your prescription at kind of the lowest price. And that is important, because we've got a lot of people on a lot of medications, but somewhere, and I never hear this message. I mean, maybe it's there and I just don't want to hear it or whatever. But I never get the sense that people are told that there are choices that they can make that will keep them off of medication. And Rebecca, I'm not sure if I'm sure she's still with us, but we did a Facebook video, and we had a couple that came on, and the thing between them, they were on 15 to 16 different medications, and so I'm sure they needed good RX, because when you're taking that many pills, that's a lot of money. They changed their diet, which is really kind of the only life modification that they made, and they went from diabetes, hypertension, and on all these medications to basically no medication, having, the hypertension went away, the high blood pressure went away, the diabetes either went away or was well controlled. It just, so I want to stress that and empower you, that you do have choice, and actually a choice and responsibility. and that choice matters. Um, Hopefully to avoid things. And this is just another picture, just more medications. I watch, and there's always something new, some new inhaler, new medicine, new pill, new something, you know, but they never say don't smoke. It's just like, well, here we've got you. And so I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. I mean, I think we need to feel that responsibility for our choices and know that our choices have consequences. And that, at least I think that it's a better choice to go down a path where you're trying to avoid procedures, medications, especially when it's as easy as being mindful of what you eat and getting regular exercise and regular sleep, and working on your mental, spiritual well-being. So, so I think so a lot of us, we feel like this man, I mean, I think you can just look at the people's expressions, there's maybe a little bit of anger, there's definitely pressure, and it's just overwhelmed. And so it's just more, 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 more. Um, and so I think that, so that kind of got me to thinking about, I termed it habit creep. I went to a meeting, and I think we're all summation of our choices and our habits. So it's sum total, but basically the way that we act and behave, the reason we keep doing that is because by and large, it's getting us what we want. And there's really, I mean, it takes not getting what you want or some significant untoward outcome in order to change a habit. But I really think, that we should self reflect. And, there's a quote, and I forget exactly who said it, but it goes something like, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. And so you can see how kind of convoluted that is. I think that we need to wake up, be aware of ourselves, and really try to be an authentic version of ourselves. I mean, because who else you going to be? I mean, but so how do you perceive yourself, and then how do you relate to others? Um, and I think the soothing, how do we soothe ourselves? There's so many people that I'm seeing and working with now, and boy, the art or skill or whatever you want to call it, of self-soothing is just so important, because although I think it's critical that we interact with each other, because I think we are interdependent, I think it is imperative that we learn how to self-soothe ourselves, and in a way that is productive and meaningful and heads us toward the goals, our meaning and purpose. I mean, so one way you could soothe yourself is with a cigarette, or with food, um, or drugs or alcohol. But I think that those are not going to be productive mechanisms to soothe oneself. And then obviously the habits, the duration of the habit, I mean, they are a challenge to overcome, but not impossible. And so I think realizing what they are and then adjusting accordingly. Once again, kind of using that kind of roadmap picture, the destination and then how you get there, to kind of help guide and steer those habits. And then fear, fear is the number one enemy. I'm borrowing from a book by Carlos Castaneda. He spent some time with a Yaqui Indian, Don Juan, and Don Juan says fear is the number one enemy. And boy, that is true. Whether it's fear of death, fear of being alone, fear of not enough time. I mean, you name it. And then that puts you in a position of scarcity. And boy, that is a very vulnerable position because you'll never have enough. And so I think, I mean, I try to practice. I know Rebecca probably gets tired of my daily gratitude list that I send out, but it's a personal effort and practice to wake myself up and come into a state of realizing the blessings that are truly in my life. And I've tried this with patients, because I'm unaware of a one-sided coin. I know, I guess in physics, at least in theory, there's monopole magnets, but it's never been shown or proven. And so, so just like a magnet has a north and a south, or the two polarities, a coin has two sides. And so either in myself and or somebody that I encounter, if there's something negative, I just, there is always, it may be challenging to find, but I think always a positive that exists in the negative. And one of my favorite books, and if you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it, is Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankel. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but he spent time in Auschwitz during World War II, and I think one of the reasons that he survived, was that he found meaning and purpose, and maybe even to a little degree, humanity and beauty in a just atrocious circumstances. But I think it's just testament to the will to live and seeking that that meaning and purpose. We have developed, Rebecca and I, so this is kind of our roadmap, so to speak, to kind of try to help achieve wellness. I think that it all starts with awareness, and there's a lot of different ways that you can become aware. For me, meditation is an excellent tool to kind of gain awareness, and then as you develop that awareness, then you become aware of the choices that you make and responsibility. And there are always going to be things that are going to come across your path which can't be changed, and so then we learn to accept those, which actually probably changes it because it changes the perspective. And then that helps you obtain balance in your life. And then ultimately, then that's what leads to your peace and your freedom. And so I think that's a kind of a very good exercise. So I know that y'all just recently finished your exercise challenge, and so we just we kind of wanted to briefly talk about so how do you establish a new habit? Well, I think first of all, we talked about what are your goals? What is it that you want? And then you've got to decide. I mean, one, is it reasonable? And then what is it going to take to obtain that. And then the removing the obstacles to habit change. I guess I'll kind of tell on myself. I try to eat a salad, every evening, and it was amazing if I would chop up all the vegetables, and so they're already kind of in little containers. That just significantly decreased the work that it took to make the salad, and that helped kind of instill that habit of eating a salad. It made it just that little bit easier. And I was listening to a podcast, and this lady, she was talking to me. She wanted to make a commitment to running, and so the only time she was going to be able to run was early in the morning, which she wasn't really a morning person, but she actually would sleep in her running clothes, just to make it that much easier to roll out of bed and hit the pavement of the treadmill or whatever. And then I think, practice, practice, practice. I mean, we all, we watch the TV, and we see Michael Jordan flying through the air, winning 6 NBA championships, or Tiger Woods winning the Masters. Just, we see all these great feats, a musician that just performs beautifully. But what we don't see is the painstaking practice, the sacrifice. We don't see that, and so we're kind of deluded into thinking it's just some magical talent, and yes, they're very talented, but probably the true talent, is the dedication, the perseverance, the ability to focus, are just critical. So exercise specifically, what does it do for your body? Exercise causes the blood vessels to kind of dilate or get bigger, not bigger like aneurysmal, but just bigger, which means more flow. And so that's a good thing. It helps generate the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That's what makes the energy, which helps improve heart. Oh, sorry. Always do that. And then exercise, you build muscle. And actually, I recently learned this. I mean, everybody, exercise raises your serotonin level. I got interested. So muscle, by and large, burns branch chain amino acids. Branch chain amino acids actually diminishes serotonin production. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that actually, I guess, is probably most related to mood, impulse control, whatnot. So having healthy muscles, and this is one way, it helps raise the serotonin because it burns the branch chain amino acids, which less of them around increases serotonin production. And then this BDNF, that's brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It actually, like the brain, it helps your hippocampus, which is a part of your brain where memory is stored or formed. The hippocampus actually has been shown it actually can grow, and so BDNF can kind of help stimulate that brain growth. So very important. I think this is my final slide. I've been kind of grinding on this lately. So just like your mom always told you, you don't point your finger. Because when you point your finger at somebody, you got 3 pointing back at you. But I think it's just it's important to have that perspective, because usually when we make some comment or thought, we need to reflect back on ourselves, because I suspect that whatever we're potentially complaining about for somebody else, we're probably doing some form of and/or variation therein. And so I think once again, I think that just the bottom line is just kind of developing awareness. And I think that's all I've got on that.
Yeah, thanks. I was going to add a couple things. So as far as the benefits of exercise, there's been a lot of research. I went to the lifestyle medicine conference that I am certified in. They were specifically talking about breast cancer and the decreased risk of recurrence, and also how much better people tolerate the treatments of breast cancer with physical exercise. They've also talked about decreasing risk of dementia, and it was incredibly high. I think it was like 70% in women with daily exercise, specifically strength training and things like that. So there's all kinds of research that's been done as far as long-term health benefits, heart benefits, cancer reduction, dementia being a big one. So there's a lot out there. But again, if there isn't a personal reason why, and I've learned this with the patients over the years, is we can tell patients facts all day, but it really doesn't mean anything until you have a personal reason why. Well, I mean, I know all kinds of facts, but Tom knows exercise is like I can do diet all day. Not diet, I generally eat okay, but something about getting out and exercising. My kids keep me active, so that counts. But so I think it's important to, if you guys have some time to sit down and maybe think about, and we're talking specifically in the realm of exercise, if that's something that you find challenging, is ask yourself why you're doing it. And then, if it's because I want to get thinner, well, why do you want to get thinner? Because I want to be able to fit into my bikini. I don't know if y'all are wearing bikini. I see a guy in front of me, maybe he wants to be in his bikini. I'm just kidding. In, spring break of next week, or, whatever your reason is, and you keep asking yourself why until you get to that more psychological reason, as opposed to this more as opposed to the objective things of how you're going to look and what size you are and your weight on the scale and those type of things, because those things are going to fluctuate. But your why is much goes a lot further, such as, I want to be able to play sports with my grandkids rather than having to sit on the sideline and watch them, or whatever it is. So I hope that you guys will take the time to think about what it is that's driving some of your motivation to do certain things. Sorry, I'm in my office, so we have pagers going off and stuff. That and then the other thing I was going to say is, he was talking about the process, the example with the corn, and there's some research recently that I came across about, you don't always see the effect immediately of what you're doing. And a lot of you guys may know that, but it was pretty profound. They took people who were 40s and 50s and they looked at them and their health conditions at that time was different things like that. And then they looked at them once they were on Medicare, and they were looking at utilization of resources and Medicare cost in different groups. So the people that were healthier, exercised more, had a normal BMI in the 40s and 50s used on average $2,000 less when they got onto Medicare than the ones that didn't. So, and for me, I just turned 40, about to have my first mammogram, super not excited, but all that to say, and at my age right now, it's how is my health now? Because it really is going to be a predictor of what my health is going to be like in 25 years. But, and if I don't want to go down that road of all these medicines, then even if I can't see it right now, it truly is making a difference long-term. So it's important not to just have the now in mind. It has to be more of a long-term goal, which is why the scale doesn't matter and why the size of your, bikini or whatever doesn't matter. So Anyway, does anyone have any specific thoughts or questions about this? Maybe just maybe experiences that you guys have found challenging as far as building habits?
You can feel free to just unmute
Good, I
yourself if
see.
you have a question.
Do what now?
I was just letting everyone know they can unmute themselves if they do have a question.
Yeah, absolutely. While y'all are thinking about the questions, what I would like to say is for those of you that were in the exercise challenge, what did you notice about that? Did you find it easy? Because I think it was a several-week program. Did you find it easy through the whole time? Were you able to challenges came up with it? So if any of you were in it, I would love to hear kind of what your experience was with that. Very quiet crowd. Y'all don't know us, obviously.
To answer that question, we actually did it in twice. So we did it first from September to November, and then we did it again from January to March. And I actually found it easier to participate from the October to November one. The January to March one, for some reason, I found it very challenging to keep it up. But that's just me personally, and I'm not sure why. Just maybe the cold weather. Not sure, but
Yeah,
I failed miserably this time around.
yeah.
I will say something. Hi, I'm Bridget in Corpus Christi. I'll say something about exercise. The past year, I have not done well because the way I preferred to exercise was going to a step class at a gym.
Oh, yeah.
And I was self-disciplined to do that first thing in the morning. If I didn't, it was very difficult for me to add it later in the day. And I realized I need to exercise in the format that I enjoy. Walking around the block in my neighborhood has not been that much fun for me. And I have not done that as much. So I guess what I probably need to do is find some kind of step class on YouTube, perhaps, get a step and try it at home until I'm ready to go back to the gym. But I realized if I don't exercise, and I was in a very good habit of that for years and years, the very first thing, it was very hard for me to work it in later in the day. So I'll add that anyway.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That's
Sure.
Been definitely a challenge this year because so many people's routines have been displaced because of COVID and things closing and all of that. And so another thing that I don't know if being in the step class, as in being around people, was something that kind of motivated you, or if it was just the actual physical effect of going to the class itself. But because of things like Zoom, you could do a step class with your friends. Have all of you log on and do the step class that way. And this year has required a lot of creativity to be able to maintain your habits the way that they were before, because there's just some things that really aren't, that they're just not possible. You know, like for us, our gym closed, and then when it opened, there was no childcare, which for me, I have 3 young kids. So there are challenges. And so having to be creative is definitely something, but I think it helps because it takes a different part of the brain to be creative than it does to just follow that habit. So
And I think that, I'm not sure I mentioned it, but trying to paint the kind of the picture or mindset of mental flexibility, I think, because so the opposite of that is obviously rigidity, and things that are rigid by and large don't do well. You think about a tree in the storm, a tree that can bend is going to survive versus being brittle, or rigid, you're going to break, and then that's that. And so, I think, it's like with your step class, your walking, I think encouraging, I love the thinking about possibility. because really there are endless possibilities. We're only limited by ourselves, but trying to develop that skill and that habit of seeing possibilities, that curiosity. In meditation, they call it beginner's mind, and so you approach life almost through the eyes of a child. I mean, you give a child a spoon and there's hours of entertainment, because it can be anything. You give a spoon to an adult and it's like, well, this is just a spoon, but you can see how we're selling ourselves short. you know and so I think it's important to practice flexibility, possibility, which then leads you to go onto YouTube or in any different direction.
I have a question. This is Elsie Whitmire from Harris County, Houston area. And
Yes, ma'am.
well, actually, Rebecca, because you had mentioned being on a trip to Australia, working with the Aborigines. And I was just curious to know, what was that format? Was this just a medical clinic setup? And what type of health habits and nutritional habits did you come away with having seen?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I was with the Australian medical system is social. It's basically like government. I forgot the word right now. Socialized medicine, if you will. And so there is a very small number of people that work in the outback. Everyone works around like the 30-mile perimeter of Australia. And so they're running into an issue where they don't have providers for the outback, except for the people who are from the Aboriginal tribes. And so they do not have PAs there. And so the purpose of this was to take students from the US. They actually only had 4 of us go and see what we could offer, and then with that information start a PA program is what they did. So they've started several programs since then, putting them through the program and then sending them back to their communities, because they're the ones that want to be in the outback. At the time, I was a student at Southwestern, and so I wasn't focused specifically on the nutrition, but what I did notice, and I've worked some in Alaska with the Native Indians up there, it's very metabolic syndrome type things, a lot of diabetes, a lot of hypertension. Central obesity is a big one because they used to live off the land, and now with all the government things that they've done, they now have access to all of this highly processed food, and so their bodies just can't tolerate that. And so you see a lot of those type of chronic diseases, a lot of drugs, alcohol, coping mechanisms for it. So it was a very interesting experience, and I feel like it's very similar to what we would see in our Native American communities here. But if you ever get a chance to go, it's very cool.
Thank you. Yes, I know my grandson had gone on a school trip when he was about 12 or 13, and of course loved Australia. So it's on my list. It's on my list. But
it's beautiful. What I would say is, so there's, like I said, 30 miles of coast, and then it's like a zillion miles of brown, and then 30 miles of coast on the west. But if you can take a train at night out to the outback, I have never seen darker skies, and you can just look up and it's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. So
wow.
But then quickly take a train back to the coast.
Okay.
Round trip.
Yeah, and just one other quick question for Dr. Warren. Dr. Warren, I think that you really are very open and receptive to have gone from cardiology to psychiatry. And so do you have just maybe one thing to say, because I have an issue with blood pressure. And so I know you've shared meditation and of course diet. So do you think that we should just stay alert and have very open and receptive awareness towards what's available and what's right for us?
Well, yes, absolutely. I think that you're open and aware of what you need, what the possibilities are. I think that whatever you choose needs to resonate with you, because I mean, although I think, so diet, exercise, sleep, I think are all ways, to try to help maybe stave off, treat, well, maybe not treat, but, different illnesses, but it's whatever you choose, it has to resonate with you, because otherwise you're not going to do it. It's got to make sense. It's got to pierce your heart.
That's good. Thank you. That's good. That's very eye-opening, to pierce your heart. So it sounds like it has to pierce your heart and be as serious as a heart attack.
Oh, well, hopefully we can avoid that.
Okay. Wow.
There's a really cool book called, what is it? With Dr. Esselstyn, do you remember? Tom,
How to
Reversing Heart Disease.
reverse heart disease.
Yeah, How to Reverse Heart Disease by Dr. Esselstyn. He's a cardiologist, and it talks a lot about the plant-based nutrition as a way of actually curing heart disease, which is something that you really don't ever hear about. You hear stenting and medicines, but actually legit curing it. That's a phenomenal idea. It would put us out of business, but anyway, that's okay. I'm going to put in here on the how to create the habit. I'm going to put it in the chat box. And so if you guys wanted to copy and paste it onto your, like a note on your computer or whatever it is, and then maybe throughout the upcoming days, go through it, just visit it again and see if, as you're having maybe some goals that you're trying to obtain, see if you can fill that out, and it might help maintain your decision for whatever it is that you're trying to do. Help maintain it a little.
Your momentum.
There you go, your momentum.
You want to maintain your momentum.
Yes, there you go. And it is starting to get really pretty outside, so
It is.
that makes
That'll help a lot, won't it?
Does anyone?
Thank you so much, you guys, for being here with us today. This has been so informational. We really appreciate your time. And if anybody else has any more questions, if you could just hold off for a second and make some announcements, and then maybe we can stay on for a few minutes after this. Guys, don't forget to register for the annual business meeting coming up on May the 13th. I believe Sasha is going to put it in the chat box on how to do that, but you can always also go to textbatalliance.org. Also, the TMAA awards are due by March 31st. So all county alliances, please submit your awards. I know this year has been a different year and most of our activities have been on Zoom, but I know you guys have done some wonderful, fabulous projects. So please don't think it's not good enough. Everything that you guys do is quality. So please submit that, and we would love to see what all you have done. We also are asking to send in nominations for the nominating committee for the May 13th meeting. That's also found on the textbatalliance.org website, and that will be given more information. Next month, don't forget, we have our Enrichment series again on the third Thursday of April, and this time will be Dr. Gil Bronson, and she is going to talk about how COVID has affected, or the pandemic has affected our youth and adolescents. And so that'll be really important as well. So please make sure you stay tuned and sign up for that event. Also, First Tuesdays are still going on. And so please sign up. We have one coming up at the beginning of April, and then May will be the last one. I hope you guys are all meeting with your legislators and talking about our important medicine issues. You can find that at the TMA website, as well as I believe some of that's on the textbatalliance.org. Thank you guys again for attending. We really appreciate you being here today. And again, thank you to our wonderful speakers. You guys are phenomenal. We appreciate this talk, and it is recorded, so please go back and listen to it as well. So if you want to stay on and ask a few more questions, I think we have just a few minutes to do so. Otherwise, everybody have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Sasha, did you have a question earlier?
Oh, no, I was just going to say the advice about removing impediments is really, like, for me, that's always been the biggest thing. And when Dr. Warren mentioned like pre-cutting vegetables for salads, like that sort of thing, like meal prep has been like really life changing for me, to just like, you don't have to cook a healthy meal every single day. You can just like cook one big batch of something, prepackage it in Tupperware, and then just pull it out of the fridge when you're ready to eat. And I do that with smoothies too. I just have like frozen berries and spinach and everything, and then all I have to do is blend it up. So just, it enables you to be lazy and also healthy at the same time, which is really, really great. So I love that advice. And yeah, I feel like my life has recently been kind of upended with like moving and things like that. And it is hard to pick up that momentum again after you've lost it. I used to attend Pilates classes like an hour a day, every single day, and was really, really consistent. And the second you kind of fall off, it's really hard to kind of get back up again. And the longer you wait before getting back into that habit, the harder it is to restart it. So yeah, I feel a little inspired to try and get back into that good habit of working out and remembering, I enjoy doing this and it feels great when you do it. And it stinks for those first few days when your body's really sore and out of practice, but it feels great after that. So thank you both.
Yeah, and I think that brings up the point of awareness again, is being aware of what your barriers are and finding a alternative for when you have those. I mean, even as much as if it's raining outside, then rather than walking on the street, I'm going to walk in the mall, and I'm going to go at this time when it's open. So having a backup plan, because barriers do. I mean, I can always come up with an exercise barrier, always.
But there's a football quote. One of the coaches, he says, you'll find a way to do anything you want to do and an excuse for anything you don't.
Okay. And
Did you
it's true for every avenue of life, isn't it?
Pam, was there something?
That was a great presentation. I loved it. It was excellent. I just have to leave now, so I was waving goodbye, but thank you so much. So
Yeah,
keep talking and keep asking questions. I think it's some really great questions here, but I'm going to sign off. I loved it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
Thanks
Pam.
for having us.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, thank you guys for having us. We very much appreciate it. We're happy to, if you ever need us in the future, feel free to reach out to us.
Thank
We
you
have all
so
kinds
much.
of topics we can pick. So have a good one. Y'all have a great day.
You too. Thank you again, you guys.
too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Chicken Bears.
Yes.